And then there was Achilles. Now there was a guy who had it all. The build, the foot speed, he could jam, he could take a hit, he could keep on coming. But that flush slug in the heel is! He barely gets nicked there once and kaboom! He's history.
The Cayo Perico heist has been one of the biggest money-making methods in GTA Online for the past 6 years. Ever since it was released back in 2020, Cayo Perico completely changed the way players made money. For solo players especially, it became the go-to method for making millions of dollars without having to rely on other people. But after the release of the Quartz Center heist, Rockstar has made some absolutely brutal changes to Cayo Perico. And when I say brutal, I mean these nerfs are honestly diabolical. The heist has already been nerfed multiple times over the years, but this latest update might be the one that finally kills Cayo Perico as the king of solo money-making. So today, we're going to look at exactly how much Cayo Perico has been nerfed since it first released, how much money you can actually make from it now, and most importantly, is Cayo Perico still worth doing in 2026? Let's go back to 2020. When Cayo Perico first released, the heist was absolutely insane. The original primary target payouts were incredibly high. Even the worst primary target could pay almost $1 million. And back in 2020, that was an absolutely ridiculous amount of money. The setup fee was also only $25,000, meaning you could start the entire heist for basically nothing compared to what you could earn from it. And the heist had even more going for it. There was the old solo gold glitch, which obviously isn't possible anymore, as well as the replay glitch. So if you knew what you were doing, Cayo Perico was basically a money-printing machine. It didn't matter if you were a brand new player or someone who already owned everything in the game. If you wanted money, Cayo Perico was one of the best things you could possibly do. But Rockstar eventually decided that maybe Cayo was a little too powerful. And in 2022, we got the first major nerf. Interestingly, Rockstar didn't actually reduce the payouts at first. Instead, they attacked the amount of money you could make per hour. If you completed Cayo Perico solo, you had to wait 3 in-game days, or around 144 real-life minutes, before you could run it again. That was a massive change. Before this, players could continuously grind Cayo Perico. Now, if you were playing solo, you had to wait before starting another run. Rockstar also introduced different spawn rates for the primary targets. If you hadn't played Cayo Perico for around 72 hours, you had a much higher chance of getting something valuable, like the pink diamond. But if you kept grinding the heist repeatedly, your chances of getting the better targets became much lower. As far as the information we have goes, that system is still around today. And honestly, even with these changes, Cayo Perico was still ridiculously profitable. But then came 2023, and this is where things really started going downhill. For the first time, Rockstar actually nerfed the payouts themselves. The Sinsamito tequila dropped from $900,000 to just $630,000. That's almost a 30% decrease. The ruby necklace and bearer bonds also lost around 30% of their value. The pink diamond stayed at $1.3 million, which was obviously great. But there was a catch. The pink diamond was rare. So unless you were lucky enough to get it, most players were taking a pretty big hit on their average runs, and Rockstar wasn't finished. The setup cost was increased from $25,000 to $100,000. That's a 300% increase just to start the heist. The office safe also received a nerf, with its minimum payout dropping from $50,000 to $20,000. Then, every secondary target except gold had its value reduced by another 10%. Even the spawn rate for the best solo secondary loot was reduced. It went from 40% down to 30%. So yeah, 2023 absolutely cooked Cayo Perico. But here's the important part. Even after all of those nerfs, Cayo Perico was still worth doing. It could still pay well over $1 million on a good solo run, and even more if you were playing with another player. So even though Rockstar kept hitting the heist with nerf after nerf, Cayo remained the benchmark. Whenever someone asked what the best solo money-making method in GTA Online was, the answer was almost always Cayo Perico. And that's what makes the latest nerf so frustrating. Because then we got the Quartz Center heist. Rockstar introduced a brand new heist, gave players another major way to make money, and at the same time, they decided to nerf Cayo Perico again. And this time, they went straight for the primary targets. The Sinsamito tequila, which originally paid $900,000, was already reduced to around $630,000. Now it's worth around $400,000. That's insane. We're talking about a target that lost more than half of its original value, from $900,000 to $630,000, and now roughly $400,000. That's a 56% decrease from its original payout, but then Rockstar finally came for the pink diamond. That's what makes this latest change so frustrating. The heist already has a cooldown. The better primary targets have lower spawn rates when you repeatedly grind it. The setup cost went from $25,000 to $100,000. The office safe was nerfed. Secondary loot was reduced. The spawn rate for the best solo secondary loot was reduced. And now the primary targets themselves have been hit again. At some point, you have to ask, how much more can Rockstar possibly take away from Cayo Perico? Now, saying Cayo Perico is completely useless. If you get lucky and receive a pink diamond, it can still be worth doing. And if you're playing with a friend, the heist becomes more attractive. But for the average solo player, it's rough. There are now so many other options that are more competitive than they were before. Cayo Perico isn't necessarily bad. It's just no longer the obvious choice. And I think that's the biggest change of all. For 6 years, Cayo Perico was the king of solo money-making. Now, the king has finally been dethroned. The question isn't really, how can I grind Cayo Perico as much as possible? It's now, what combination of activities can I play throughout the week to make the most money? And honestly, I think that's probably what Rockstar wants. Whether you agree with the way they got there is a completely different story. Personally, I think the weekly bonus system is a great idea, but I think Rockstar went way too far with the Cayo Perico nerfs. The heist was already being balanced by its cooldown and target spawn system. It didn't need to be hit this hard, because when you take a heist that was once capable of making you millions incredibly quickly, and eventually turn a good solo run into something that can leave you with only around $710,000 after expenses, you have to wonder whether it's even worth the effort anymore. So, is Cayo Perico still worth doing in 2026? For solo players, my answer is, not really. It's still playable, it's still profitable, and if you get lucky with a pink diamond, you can still make a decent amount of money, but compared to what Cayo Perico used to be, it's not even close. The days of Cayo being the automatic answer to every "how do I make money" question are over. Cayo Perico had a 6-year run at the top. It survived cooldowns, it survived payout nerfs, it survived secondary loot nerfs, it survived setup cost increases, and now it's survived another massive hit to its primary targets. But after everything Rockstar has done to it, I think we can finally say that Cayo Perico is no longer the king. So now I want to hear from you. Are you still going to grind Cayo Perico after these nerfs? Or are you moving on to other money-making methods and taking advantage of the weekly first completion bonuses? And if you're still running Cayo, are you going to wait for the better target chances and pray for that pink diamond? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, consider subscribing, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.